There probably isn't a more tried and true method for catching walleyes in Minnesota than a jig and a minnow. But there is a growing concern across the state about the supply of live bait and what the future of fishing may look like.
All right, today we're just outside Staples, Minnesota, where Barry's Cherries is working hard to save the bait industry. What is Barry's Cherries?
It's a hydroponic, aquaponic farm. We started out as a fish farm. I have 13 ponds on the property, and we raise bait fish. I was a fishing guide for 12 and a half years. I went into the bait business because I couldn't get the bait I wanted from the wholesalers I was dealing with. My predominant bait that I used in the guide service was red-tailed chubs. I learned over the years that probably anywhere from 60 to 70% of the harvest takes place while this fish is on the spawning beds. You can't do that with any species and expect it to be sustainable. And if you look around the state right now, red-tailed chubs are $20 a dozen in the bait shops. The reason they're at $20 a dozen is because they're almost wiped out. In '92, I saw this coming. That's a long time ago. I decided that at that point I was going to spend some time figuring out the species, how to spawn it, how to raise it in captivity. I started digging ponds. There were no ponds on the property when I got here. Now I have 13 on the property and one raceway system for spawning red-tailed chubs.
What are we looking at here?
This is a raceway system, an artificial river developed for spawning river minnows. It can spawn red-tailed chubs or horny-head chub, common shiners, creek chubs. Right now you can see down here we've got common shiners here that are moving along the shoreline. Down below you can see the red-tailed chubs or the horny-head chub.
Essentially, you've tried to create river conditions here.
Yeah, this is an artificial river is basically what it is. It's lined with gravel. You can see on the bottom it's got 3/8 to 3/4 gravel. That's what red tails use to build a nest in the river. The male red tail builds a nest that is essentially a flow-through hatchery for the eggs. The eggs have to be aerated. The common shiner, the male common shiner, he'll cohabit the nest with the red tail, and he will keep all marauding minnows from eating the eggs. He'll protect it. Plus, he spawns on the nest at the same time.
So you need both of them to make this work.
Successful. You'll get red tails spawning by themselves, but you get more red tails successful spawning when you have both of them together. The ideal would be to put this under a greenhouse. I could probably spawn those fish in May or maybe even April because of getting higher water temperatures.
There's a lot swimming around down here. How many are in here?
I'm estimating between 1.5 and 2.5 million.
Oh, wow.
Total. They're this thick all the way around the raceway. And then there's probably another maybe 1 million that have already gone out into the pond. So this raceway, we pump from the pond here behind the trees.
Okay.
It pumps in, comes over by the paddle wheel here. The paddle wheel keeps the current moving.
So the minnows will spawn in the raceway, and then they move into this pond, and then that pond is done essentially. You keep them here until next spring. Yep. When they're ready to go to market then, what's the next step here?
We drop traps in, bait the traps. I check them once a day. We run those fish through a bar grader that gives them the size. The small ones go back in the pond. The large ones stay on top of the grader. Those get put onto my truck and then moved up to a tank inside the shop. This pond is Pond 1. It's part of a research project with Sea Grant, the University of Minnesota, and DNR, Minnesota DNR, to raise golden shiners. So this pond, 3 years ago, we stocked golden shiner fry in it in June and let them go for a year. And now I'm taking about 20 to 25 gallons of golden shiners out of it a year. They reproduce in the pond itself, so I don't have to do anything. The original intent when I dug it was to be able to put a greenhouse dome over the top of it. Minnesota's failing is that we have a short growing season in the water. You need water temperatures above 55 degrees in order to get growth out of your fish. If you put it under a greenhouse dome, just like this one, I could extend the growing season in the water by 60 to 90 days. You can see young of the year from last year, these smaller fish that are swimming across it. Those are last year's hatch. This pond cost me about $700 to excavate it. It's about 8 feet deep total in its deepest spot. This is a groundwater pond, so this is the water table where it is right now. So those are this year's. They're about 3/8 to half an inch long now.
I know this would be counterproductive as a business model, but it'd be kind of fun to just throw a largemouth in there and just watch them go to town.
See how fast you can grow them?
Yeah.
Actually, there's probably people that are looking at doing this. DNR is actually raising golden shiners and feeding them to their muskies.
Oh, sure.
They were the New London hatchery. Jeff Tillock down there has been working with the research project that we've been doing, and he's got fish that they're actually moving out into ponds and spawning them there so that they can either feed them to their muskies or trade them for fathead minnows. And golden shiners are worth 4 times what fathead minnows are on the wholesale market. We could benefit DNR, we could benefit the bait industry, keep it going, and there's opportunity there. Originally there was 38,000, so there's about 37,000 golden shiners in here right now. There are 2 different batches that were put in here in order to assess whether they're compatible, and they are. Golden shiners aren't eating each other. We do wetland restoration. We just got done with a research paper that was done with Minnesota DNR and USGS, and that was restoring freshwater shrimp, or Gammarus lacustris, back across the range in Minnesota. It's been touted as one of the reasons why we lost birds on this flyway, the waterfowl on this flyway. We've lost a lot of the food sources for these birds, and without those food sources, those birds aren't going to come back to this flyway. This tank is growing ivy-leaf duckweed, star-leaf duckweed. Biological name is Lemna trisulca. This is a weed that we use for wetland restoration in the wintertime. When we stock Gammarus lacustris for waterfowl, we stock this in at the same time, and it's easy to grow. This is being actually grown on nutrient from my lettuce house. We use our spent nutrient and pump it into this tank. We have a pretty ready market for it. The problem with it in the wild is that it's very susceptible to herbicide infiltration from fields. It wipes it out and it won't reseed itself. It doesn't turn into a flower. It won't move from pond to pond. Ivy-leaf duckweed will double in size every 24 hours. So it's a pretty prolific plant. One of the things that we find in our natural ponds now is the swan population, which has rebounded in recent years. This is a favored food of them. So they will clean this out, literally clean it out of ponds where they can reach it. We found one of the common features in what they call super wetlands that have high populations of freshwater shrimp is the presence of that ivy-leaf duckweed. I know that you can raise it in captivity, so we will be selling that along with the Gammarus this year for stocking. Most of the research has been done on the scaup. Those birds rely heavily on Gammarus lacustris as a food source. Between the Gulf of Mexico and Canada, where they brood, there's no food source left. We've eliminated it through our agricultural practices. I think we can restore that in a great number of wetlands in Minnesota. We've had Ducks Unlimited, Minnesota Waterfowl, DNR, U.S. Fish and Wildlife that have bought up lands and gotten deeded lands that are now can be restored back to their pristine nature.
So do you feel that what you're doing here could save the bait industry?
I know it can save the bait industry. We have a way to produce these in captivity, in man-made facilities, produce them in large numbers. It can be done without investing $1 million. The raceway that we demonstrated here cost me about $600 to put in. The pond that it goes with it, you're probably going to be another $700 to $1,200. I published the information back in '98 on how to do this. The industry isn't interested in doing it that way as long as they can get them out of the wild.
Is that because of the cost and the work? They think it's just easier to go get them naturally?
No, unfortunately, the industry in general has an attitude of Grandpa did it this way, Dad did it this way. Why am I the one who has to change? The resource is changing. We're losing more and more waters to zebra muzzles. Zebra muzzle waters, once they get in, zebra muzzles gets into a river, it closes that river as of May 26th every year. It doesn't open again until October 16th. So basically, the time of year where red tails are popular, you can't get them because that water's closed. You can't go in and you can't harvest them. Unfortunately, the attitude with bait dealers is it's an unending supply. They're all learning really fast that this is not true. People raising these fish can raise them to the point where you can export them. They're valuable not just in Minnesota. They're red-tailed chubs, common shiners, golden shiners are marketed all over the country. It's an opportunity for growth in an industry that's being overlooked and has been overlooked for ever. If we do not look at sustainability in the bait industry, then the bait industry in 10 years is going to be gone.
We can stop aquatic hitchhikers from infesting more lakes and streams by cleaning up everything we pull out of the water. It's a simple drill. Clean in, clean out. Before leaving a water access, clean your boat and water equipment. Remove and dispose of all plants and aquatic species in the trash. Drain water from your boat, ballast tanks, motor, live well, and bait container. Remove drain plugs and keep drain plugs out while transporting equipment. Dispose of unwanted bait in the trash. To keep live bait, drain the water and refill the bait container with bottled or tap water. And if you have been in infested waters, also spray your boat with high-pressure water. Rinse with very hot water. Dry for at least 5 days. Stop the spread of AIS.
Hey, it's Bret Amundson here, the host of Prairie Sportsman. I sure hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like it and subscribe for more content.